Okay, just do a quick sound check. Mic check 2 1 2. Make sure we coming in clear. Okay, that sounds perfect. All right, so let's close that out. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, better known as Great Millstone, who rule well, and like to give peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. And I'm your brother Matazabath, back again with another edition of Understanding the 12 Tribes Sign, Part 2. All right. And before we jump ahead into dealing with the Part 2 of the series, I want to say please forgive me for the last live that I did. Part 1 has some technical difficulties with the microphone, so hopefully we don't go through that again doing this lesson here. So just let me know in the comment section that my voice is coming in all right, and we'll get started from there. All right, so as you can see, I have the chart, the 12 tribes chart here, all right, consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, and to the rest of the scattered Israelites that are mingled amongst the other heathen nations that look like the other heathen nations. Now, if you've missed part 1, all right, I highly suggest you go back and watch part 1, because in part 1 of this series, we discussed the 12 tribes sign on how it came about. And we also had to go into prophecy, showing you that the bulk of the 12 tribes will end up, all right, in the Northland, which is Babylon the Great, the Americas, all right, or the Western Hemisphere. So if you haven't gotten that history, I highly suggest you go back and watch part 1 so that you can get the full understanding on why this chart is 144% accurate, because pertaining to biblical prophecy, all 12 tribes Salakia, let me say that again. The bulk of the 12 tribes will end up in the Americas today, mainly Babylon the Great, which is America. All right. So today we're going to go through this. I'm only going to do 4 tribes in part 2. So the 4 tribes we're going to focus on today is Judah, which is your so-called Negroes. We're going to focus on Levi, which is your so-called Haitians. Also Simeon, all right, which is your so-called Dominicans. And then the last tribe we're going to focus on will be the Reubenites, all right, tribe of Reuben, which is your so-called Seminole Indians, all right. So let me, Salakia, let's do this real quick. All right, let's go here. And let me know if you brothers and sisters can see that on the screen. Should be able to, but if not, let me know. So we're going to start in Genesis, the 49th chapter, and we're going to bounce back between Genesis, the 49th chapter, and Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. Now, when you deal with Genesis, the 49th chapter, all right, this was Jacob, all right, whose name was later changed to Israel, gathering his sons together to tell them what was going to befall them, all right, within the last days, meaning, what's actually happening now. All right, so let's quickly go through this. And as I stated, we're going to be dealing with only 4 tribes today in part 2 of this series. So this is Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1. All right, and it says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Okay, so basically, when you pull out that word, all right, last, all right, it is the Hebrew word, if you understand the Paleo Hebrew, all right, Aharayath, Aharayath, right? And basically it means after part, end, issue, event, latter time, prophetic future time. All right. So obviously, this is talking about a future prophecy. All right. Which to prophesy simply just means to say beforehand. All right. For the, no, to say before it actually comes to pass. So Jacob, all right, is gathering his 12 sons to tell them what should befall them in the very last days, right? Continuing on, verse 2, it says, gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. All right. So the first tribe we have here, verse 3, is Reuben. All right. Now it says here, Reuben, okay, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Okay. Now, today, all right, the tribe of Reuben, all right, let's go back here and let's bring up the chart so you brothers and sisters can see. So today, the tribe of Reuben consists of the Seminole Indians, all right? And you may say, well, how can you guys prove that, or how do we know that today? Well, it's very simple, and we're going to go into it. So going back to the scriptures here, all right? Now, when you deal with Reuben, all right, the Reuben today are known as your Seminole Indians, all right? And they have what's called a aristocratic ruling class mentality, right? Now, they were one of the last native tribes to actually sign treaties, all right, with Esau, Edom, when you go into the history of the Indian Wars, all right, which you could look up on yourself, right? Now, where it says here, the excellency of dignity, all right, basically, when Judah, being the so-called Negroes, when they came over during the slave ships, all right, they took Judah in, meaning the Reubenites. They actually took the Judites in, hence why you have the term Black Seminole Indians, all right? And basically, the Reubenites, they acknowledged Judah as the head tribe, and they set up Judah as being kings and rulers amongst them, all right? And you can actually go into that history, all right, when you look it up. Now, the cool thing about between, Reuben bringing in Judah is when you actually look up the term Black Seminole, right, which I got pulled up here. It says here, Black Seminoles, also called Seminole Maroons, if I pronounced that correctly, or Seminole Freedmen, a group of free blacks and runaway slaves, or Maroons, they have it there, that joined forces with the Seminole Indians in Florida from approximately 1700 through the 1850s. It says the Black Seminoles were celebrated for their bravery and tenacity during the three Seminole Wars. You see, now when you go in further, the word maroons here simply just means a fugitive black slave. Now, if you go into the root etymology, which I have pulled up here for you brothers and sisters, it actually states here maroon. It says put ashore on a desolate island or coast by way of punishment. All right, 1724, implied in marooning, earlier to be lost in the field, right? 1690s. It says from maroon, which means a fugitive black slave living in the wilder parts of Dutch Guyana or Jamaica and other West Indies islands, 1660s. All right. And then it goes on to say, furthermore, said to be corruption of Spanish, Cimarron, wild, untamed, unruly, all right, fugitive, as in Cuban Negro, Cimarron, a fugitive black slave. That's all it means. All right. And once again, when they brought Judah over during the transatlantic slave trade, all right, the Reubenites, they set the Judites over them as kings and rulers. All right. That's where you get the term Black Seminoles from. Okay. So that's what it's talking about. Now, coming back here, also what represents the Reubenites' excellency of dignity is they were known to wear royalty in terms of their garments. So, they had the meat trees on in terms of their hair wraps and stuff like that. All right. And going into their excellency of power, They had a very dignified spirit. They had a warrior type spirit, all right, because they were a nomadic people, all right. And when you actually, let's see here, when you go further into it, this is a little bit of a basic information on Wikipedia. Any of you brothers and sisters can look this up. But for the sake of time, let's just go through this. So when you deal with the etymology and culture, all right, um, Seminole actually derives from the Greek word Seminole, if I pronounced that right, which has been variously translated as frontiersman, outcast, runaway. Okay. And when you go back to the scriptures, it tells you in the very next verse, verse 4 says, unstable as water. Okay. Meaning what? Going into their name. All right. When we come back here, their name, being placed upon them, being called Seminole actually means runaway because, or wild one, because they like to move around, which they were located primarily in Florida. All right, during the Seminole Wars and stuff, and when they were signing the treaties and stuff with Esau, Edom. But one significant um, thing about Reuben being the Seminole Indians today, the so-called Seminole Indians, that is where it says here, Seminole culture is largely derived from that of Creek. One of the more significant holdovers from the Creek was the green corn dance ceremony, right? Now, when you deal with the green corn dance ceremony, all right, which we're going to go into a little bit to prove to you that they are Israelites, right? It says here, the green corn ceremony busk is an annual ceremony practiced among various so-called Native American peoples associated with the beginning of the yearly corn harvest. Now, if you have been studying, you know that we have right after the Passover, we have something that's called the first, let me see if I can get it here. The first harvest, Leviticus 23, first fruits, right? I'll go to NLT. Let's pull this up real quickly. So you have something called the celebration of the first harvest. All right. And it says here, Leviticus 23 and 10, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you enter the land I am giving you and you harvest its first crops, bring the priests a bundle of grain from the first cutting of your grain harvest. Right. So when you go and you deal with what the Reubenites did during the green corn ceremony, this is pretty much similar to what they did. It says, busk is a term given to the ceremony by white traders, or what we call the Edomites, right? And the word being a corruption of Greek word paskita, all right, for a fast. It says these ceremonies have been documented ethnographically throughout the North American eastern woodlands and southeastern tribes. Historically, it involved a first fruits. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, how would they know to gather the first fruits with them being on the other side of the world? Because Jake today, you have Jake that's not in the truth. They believe that a lot of especially the Gadites, which is the north of the so-called North American Indians, but a few of the Reubenites, some of them believe that they're not Israelites. You have this doctrine where they'll tell you, oh, we've always been here. That no, you haven't always been here. Now, as I said, if you missed part one of this series, I highly suggest that you go back and watch part one, because that's the reason why we have to establish how the bulk of the 12 tribes ended over in the Americas. First, it started with the Northern Kingdom by them leaving the Assyrian Empire and then traveling, to another land, which the Apocrypha calls Arsarit, which that another land is referring to none other than America, which is Babylon the Great today. All right. So it's very important that you understand that history. Now, going back here, dealing with the first fruits, it goes on to say historically, it involved a first fruits rite in which the community would sacrifice the first of the green corn to ensure the rest of the crop will be successful. These green corn festivals were practiced widely throughout southern North America by many tribes, evidenced in the Mississippian people and throughout the Mississippian ideological interaction sphere. Green corn festivals are still held today by many different southeastern woodland tribes. The green corn ceremony typically occurs in late July, August, determined locally by the ripening of corn crops. The ceremony is marked by dancing, feasting, fasting, and religious observation. Same thing like we just finished. What was our high holy day just past last week? We just finished, should have been the Feast of Tabernacles. All right. And when you go into it, you have something that's called the former rain and the latter rain, right? Because when you deal with that, which let's uh let's actually deal with that, right? Let's get Deuteronomy the 11th chapter real quick. All right. This is Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 14. It says that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn, you see, and thy wine and thine oil. Okay. And if memory serves me correct, when you go into that word first rain, all right.
Yore.
All right, Salakia. Didn't screen share that, but um, Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 14 is the verse, and we're looking up the word in the Hebrew word Yarah, all right, which is the first rain. And as you can see here, um, it says early rain, autumn shower. Okay, rain which falls in Palestine from late October until early December. All right, and it's no coincidence when you look at what they celebrated. All right, their ceremony occurred around late July, August. All right, by the ripening of the corn. Okay, so if you can discern through the spirit, all right, they understood, keeping certain high holy days. All right, it's not far fetched. Um, Now, check this out. I found this to be very interesting also as I was going through it, dealing with traditions. It says the green corn ceremony is a celebration of many types, representing new beginnings, also referred to as the Great Peace Ceremony. It is a celebration of Thanksgiving, uh, the breath maker for the first fruits of harvest, and a New Year festival as well. The busk is a celebration of the new year, all right? In modern tribal towns and stomp dance societies, only the ceremonial fire, the cook fires, and certain other ceremonial objects will be replaced. Everyone usually begins gathering by the weekend prior to the ceremony, working, praying, see that? Praying, dancing, fasting off. All right. How would they know to do a fast? And on until the big day. It says the whole festival tends to last 7, 8 days, right? As I said, we just came off of what Feast of Tabernacles, which goes for about 7 days, right? So it says, including the historical preparation involved. Without the preparation, it lasts for about 4 days or so, right? Uh, Now, also, what's interesting is they believe. Let's see if I can find it here. I don't know if it was here. Um, because just like in the ancient world, all right, when a when a young woman got her flower, which today we call her menstrual, she was classified as, because she was classified as a young woman, she became a woman. And a male or a young boy, when he was 12 years old, he was considered a man. Let me see if I can find it here. Yep, here we go, right here. Symbolism. It says Pasquita, commonly referred to as the green corn ceremony or bus, is the central and most festive holiday of the traditional Muscogee people. It represents not only the renewal of the annual cycle, but of the spirit and traditions of the Muscogee. This is representative of the return of summer, the ripening of the new corn, and the common Native American traditions of environmental agricultural renewal. Historically, in a Seminole tribe, 12-year-old boys are declared men at the green corn ceremony and given new names by the chief as a mark of their maturity. Okay. So what comes to mind is when you grab the book of Luke, because what was how old was Yahushua when he went up um with his parents? He was 12 years old. All right, let's grab that. Let's see here. Um let's see. Just type it in, get straight to the point. Yep. This is Luke chapter 2, and we'll start at verse 41. Notice it says, visit to Jerusalem. It says, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. Okay, showing you that he was at the age to where he can start to attend. All right. So you can see, all right, based off the scriptures and also what the Reubenites, your so-called Seminole Indians, practice. All right, their boys also were considered to be men at that same age. All right, and we're all linking this through the spirit. All right, so does everybody understand that? Before I move on, let me know in the comment section. Everybody understands all of that. And then let's go back here. Let's go back to Genesis, the 49th chapter. All right. So let's go through the quick recap. Genesis 49:3 once again. And it reads, it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power, right? Because remember, they were known in terms of their excellence and dignity and power because when Judah came by slave ships, all right, they took Judah in, hence why you have the term Black Seminole Indians, right? And prior to that, they also recognized Judah as the head tribe, which Judah is the head tribe, right? And set up the Judites as kings and rulers amongst them, right? And when it talks about them having the excellency of power, you have to remember they had a very dignified spirit. They were a warrior type tribe, all right. And also wore, meat trees, as I mentioned earlier, the headbands and stuff like that. So they were kind of like, royalty almost, so to speak, right? And verse 4 says, unstable as water, all right, thou shalt not excel because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch, right? Because Reuben, when you get Genesis, the 34th chapter, he slept with his father's concubine, all right? Um, so, when it talks about him being unstable as water, all right, it's because during the American Indian Wars, basically they were always on a runaway, hence the term Seminole, which means runaway, wild one. All right, they always kept moving around and stuff. So now, when you go to the blessing, when you deal with the blessing, all right, let's go to actually, I don't even need to do that. I already got the tab open for it. All right. So now this is dealing with the blessings, all right, which Moses ended up blessing the children of Israel, all right, because when you deal with what was going to befall them in the last days, and also when you add in the blessings between Deuteronomy 33 and Genesis, the 49th chapter, all right, you can be able to link who the 12 tribes are today. So let's start here at the top. Deuteronomy 33:1, it says, and this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of the Most High, blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, the Lord Yahweh came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of his saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. All right. Verse 3, it says, yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand, and they sat down at thy feet. Everyone shall receive of thy words. And Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. And he was king in Jeshurun, which Jeshurun is another name for Yasharallah. All right. It says, when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together. All right. Now, this was the blessing of Reuben. It says, let Reuben live. all right, your so-called Seminole Indians today, and not die, and let not his men be few. Why is that? Because once again, when you go back into the history of the Indian Wars, all right, a lot of Reubenites were unalive, man. You know, Esau almost wiped them all off. So the blessing for them was, to pretty much, let Reuben live, all right, and you still have the seed line, running strong to this day, but a lot of them did get taken out during those wars, you know. But Reuben is still here today. I believe the beloved Elder Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone in Chicago, he's from the tribe of Reuben. All right. So there you have it. All right. So let's go back here. All right. Let's deal with the next. Let's deal with the next tribe. All right. Verse 5. All right. Now we on to Simeon. All right. Now it says here Simeon and Levi, Genesis 49:5. It says Simeon and Levi are brethren. All right. Now, the tribes of Simeon and Levi today, Simeon represents your so-called Dominicans, and Levi or the Levites represents today your so-called Haitians. All right. And we're going to show you. Now, it says here Simeon and Levi are brethren. All right. And why are they brethren? All right. Because they share the same island today, which is known as the island of Hispaniola, which today is known as Dominican Republic and also Haiti. Right. Now it says here, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. And what is the instruments of their cruelty? The instruments of their cruelty is none other than voodoo, all right, which is spiritual power on the left hand side. Now, if you know anything, especially about the Levi, the so called Haitians today, it is that same voodoo witchcraft that they use to actually defeat the French. All right, when you go into secular history. Okay. So when it talks about the instruments of cruelty, that represents voodoo spiritual power on the left hand side. Now, I believe it was the Haitians that practiced the voodoo, but the Dominican Republics, they actually practice, you had a term called Santeria, right? Which let's look that up. Santeria, right.
Santeria.
It says here a pantheistic Afro-Cuban folk religion developed from the beliefs and customs of the Yoruba people and incorporating some elements of the Catholic religion. Let me see what else they got here. There's got to be some more because they go deeper into it. Let's see here. It says Santeria is based upon the development of personal relationships through divination, sacrifice, initiation, and mediumship. Okay, which we should all know what a medium is, right? It says, see medium between practitioners of the religion and the Orisha deities who provide their devotees with protection, wisdom, and success, and who guide devotees in time of crisis. And few of the brothers that are from the tribes of Simeon and Levi, they'll tell you, man, them Haitians and them Dominicans, they be getting down with that voodoo witchcraft stuff down there, man, in the island of Hispaniola. All right. Um, but nevertheless, going back here to the scriptures, Genesis 49:6, it says, "Oh, my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly." Okay. And basically, the secret assembly is talking about their witchcraft. All right. It says, "My honor be not thou united," right? Because both tribes are divided today. All right. And the Dominicans, they don't really acknowledge the Haitians. All right. So they're not united, they're actually divided. It says, "For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self will they dig down a wall." Okay. Now, this is going back towards when their sister Dinah, all right, which when you look it up, let's go there real quick. All right. And Salakia, please forgive me. When I spoke earlier about Reuben sleeping with his father's concubine, I think I accidentally quoted Genesis the 34th chapter. I am very sorry. I was incorrect. That's actually, and if anybody wanted to know, that's actually in Genesis. Let me see. Let me find it for you really quickly, just in case if anybody wanted to. It's actually the very next chapter over. Um, yeah, Genesis 35 and 22. And it came to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. There it is right there. So it's actually the next chapter over. Salaki, I misquoted that. I stated Genesis the 34th chapter, so I was incorrect. Salakia, please forgive me on that. Now, back here dealing with why they were known to slew a man is because of the situation that happened with their sister Dinah. So um, let's just get really let's see here. If we read, yeah, we might have to read right around the 10th verse. Actually, no, let's just get straight. So basically, what happens if you read this chapter, which you can read it on your own, I just want to get straight to the point. So basically, that one of the Hamites went into their sister Dinah and defiled her. So you had a heathen man that actually slept with a, pretty much a Israelite woman, and basically what Simeon, which let me go into it. Simeon and Levi did was, uh, let's see if this is it right here. Um, Actually, let me go up. Yep, here it is right here. Genesis 34 and 25. When the brothers Simeon and Levi, when they heard of it, this is what they did. And it came to pass on the third day when they were sore that the two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. All right, because they was pissed off, man. They came back to the crib, and when they saw, or heard rather, that they little sister, all right, was taken by a heathen man, all right, they was angry, they was pissed off, you know. So they was like, hey yo, forget this, man. We gonna take every dude down. And what they did when you read the story was they actually set up the Hamite that asked for their sister's hand in marriage, because what they said to the Hamites, they was like, you got to go and circumcise yourself. All right. And then, we'll set it up. We'll do yada, 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 whatever. So the Hamites, they did exactly that. They went, circumcised. They made a vow to circumcise the males and stuff. But little did they know, Simeon and Levi actually set them up and went and killed all the males, man, and the dude that slept with their sister. So you can read that on your own. That's just a little quick history, going into it. So let's go back to Genesis, the 49th chapter. All right. Verse 6 again. Let's read it one more time. It says, "O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, my honor." All right. Which that's talking about their witchcraft when you deal with that secret assembly. It says, "My honor be not thou united," right? Because once again, both Simeon and Levi, they're divided. It says, "For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel." All right. And that's going back to what they did pertaining to their sister, all right, being taken by another heathen man. It says, "I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel." All right. Because, when they do unite, they'll do a lot of damage, man. All right. They damn sure gonna do a lot of damage. All right. So that's those two tribes, all right, dealing with Simeon and Levi. Once again, Simeon represents the so-called Dominicans today, and the Levites represents your so-called Haitians, all right. Um, and then now let's come to Judah, all right, and this is going to be the last tribe in this series, and then we're going to pick it up in part 3, and we're going to do another 2 to 3 tribes. So I'm trying to split it up into different segments, so we don't go, over. A long time going into this. All right. So Judah, Yahawada. All right. Judah means in the Lashon Kadash, Yahawada, which actually means praise Yahweh. All right. Now it says here, Genesis 49 and 8, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Okay, because Judah is the head tribe, and all the tribes acknowledge that Judah is the head. It says, thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies, and thy father's children shall bow down before thee. All right. And in this context, the father's children is talking about the Edomites. All right. Moving on, verse 9, it says, Judah is a lion's whelp, right? Meaning that he's a young lion. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up, right? Because um, the so-called Negroes today, they will be in a certain condition or state, and they will forget that Esau, Edom, is their enemy. All right, that's why they so much in a docile state. And also, when you look at the so-called Negro today, all right, um, they basically they're always at the forefront of protesting and talking about some all lives matter, and they want the so-called white man, which is the Edomites today, to acknowledge them in everything that they do. All right, so they pretty much, you know, being in a certain condition or state, they really forgot who the real enemy is. All right, so going on, it says, he stooped down and couched as a lion, and as a old lion, who shall rouse him up? Right, because the so-called Negro man today has become very pacified, and he became like an old lion. So therefore, who shall rise him up? And if you've been paying attention, especially if any of you so-called brothers and sisters today have the social media app TikTok, you can see Judah is actually starting to be roused up, because a lot of brothers are waking up, to this damn devil and what he's actually doing. All right. So the Lord, you can see Yahweh Bashim Shah is putting the spirit, all right, rousing Judah up. And, when Jacob's trouble is fully amplified, we know that 2/3, the Lord is going to use 2/3 of our people to get at Esau. All right. So that old spirit, that lying spirit that's in Judah, you can see it's on the horizon now. Judah is being awakened. All right. And that's why it tells you also, when you get Zechariah, what's that? Zechariah 12. Let's go there real quick. And Salakia for my sniffing in the background, still overcoming my little cold that I have. This is Zechariah 12:7. It says, the Lord Yahweh also shall save the tents of Judah first. Because remember, Judah is the head tribe. So when you ask today, well, how did how did the Hebrew Israelites even come about? Like, how did everything all get started? Where did it situate? Well, it started going all the way back to 1970. You had a man by the name of Abba Bivens, and then you had what was called the School of the Seven. All right, and then out of that seven, you had what they will call the eighth, which is the beloved elder apostle Tahar. Right, um, and basically the school, which was called the one of you brothers can correct me if I'm wrong. Originally, it was called ISUBK, but then it was known as One West, and it started in Harlem, New York. All right, because pertaining to the prophecy in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, all right, the Israelites were called dry bones, and they were going to be situated in the valley, which the valley represents a low land, and that low land is talking about America. All right, when you get Ezekiel the 37th chapter, and if you want to go into that breakdown, just look it up on my YouTube page. I have the full breakdown of Ezekiel the 37th chapter, right? But not to digress, make a long story short, um, basically, Judah had to waken up. He had to awake first, all right? Because with him being a head tribe, as you continue reading on, it says, Yahweh also shall save the tents of Judah first. Tents of Judah being Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which represents the southern kingdom, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, all right, the northern kingdom, do not magnify themselves against Judah, because Judah is the head tribe. All right, Judah is going to be the one to set this thing off. All right. So when you understand it from that point of view, all right, let's go back. Genesis 49. Okay. Genesis 49 and verse 10. It says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, all right, meaning that rod, all right, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, all right, until Shiloh come, which Shiloh is talking about our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, who the world, Salakia, ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be, right? Because Yahweh Shah, that was his whole ministry, to be the mediator, to bring us back to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, right? Verse 11, binding his foal unto the vine and his ass's coat unto the choice vine, right? Which when you go to, what is it, Zechariah, the 9th chapter, I believe. All right, let's go there just to prove that, showing you that there's a reason why the Bible says he comes to the volume of the book, man. All right. He comes to the value of the book. Yep. Zechariah 9:9. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king, all right, cometh unto thee. Wasn't talking about King David. It was talking about Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, man. Right. And we're going to show you. It says, he is just and having salvation. Ooh, lowly and riding upon an ass and upon a coat, the foal of an ass. Now, who was this talking about? Once again, I was talking about Yahweh Shai. Now, the precept is let's go here, lowly, and yep, Matthew 21:5. Right now, this is what Yahweh Shai said. Matthew 21, we'll start at the top. And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem and were come to Bethpage unto the Mount of Olives, then sent Yahweh Shai 2 disciples, saying unto them, go into the village over against you, and straightway ye shall find an ass tied, and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them unto me. And if any man say aught unto you, ye shall say, the Lord have need of them, and straightway he will send them. All this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. What prophet? Zechariah, the 9th chapter. We just read it, saying, tell ye the daughter of Zion, behold, thy king cometh unto thee meek and sitting upon an ass, and a coat the foal of an ass. That's why you got a lot of jakes today, you know, these that call themselves these only Torah Israelites. They'll make fun of us and saying, you know, we're going off, we're worshiping a false deity. There's no such deity as Yahweh Shai in the Old Testament. We just read in the Old Testament the prophecy. And that's why the scriptures tells you, all right, he comes through the volume of the book. Right? Let's get Psalms 40 real quick. Like, come on, man. All right. Psalms 40:7. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. I delight to do thy will, O my power. Yea, thy law is within my heart. This is speaking of Yahweh Shai, because the precept to this is in Hebrews. All right. Hebrews 10. Yeah. Hebrews 10:7. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O power. All right. And you can also back that up. I think it's in the book of John. What is it? John 6. Let me see. Yeah. John 6:38. This is Yahweh Shah's words. For I came down from heaven not to do mine own will, but the will of him, meaning Yahweh, that sent me. You see, this is why, Peter, sorry, not Peter, but this is why King David said, through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore, I hate every false way. So, so going back here, Genesis 49:12, his eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth white with milk. All right. And that's talking about Yahweh Shai. All right. Now, let me see if there's anything. Oh, yes. Let's go back to, we'll get ready to close out. Let's go back to Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, because dealing with the tribe of Levi, remember they had the instruments of death, but one of their blessings, all right, was this, Deuteronomy 33:8. It says, and of Levi, he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with the Holy One, whom thou didst prove at Massah, and with whom thou didst strive at waters of Meribah. So remember, the Levites, which were your Levitical priesthood, that same power that they had on the right hand side, which is their Thummim and Urim, they're now using it on the left hand side. That's why they're so heavily into voodoo and witchcraft. All right. And this is where they get it from, because originally they had the power on the right hand side. And when you go into the Thummim and the Urim, all right, the Thummim, all right, which means perfection, all right. When the Levitical priests, they wore the stones, the 12 stones provided for the means of achieving a sacred lot, used with the Urim, the will of the Most High was revealed. All right. So this was set on the high priest's breastplate as an emblem, all right, of complete truth. All right. And the children of Israel, they will come to the Levitical priesthood, and then the Lord will speak to the Levitical priesthood through that Thummim and Urim to give them a divine intervention and judgment on what to do and what to say to the house of Israel. All right. And when you look up Urim, all right, simply just means lights. All right. Stones kept in a pouch on the high priest's breastplate, used in determining the Most High's decision in certain questions and issues. There you go. All right. So they had that power on that side. That's why when they talk about their instruments of cruelty, all right, they're using that on the left hand side now. That's why they practice witchcraft. All right. So now you brothers understand, where they got it from. Because originally they was using it for good under that Thummim and Urim, but now they using it on the left hand side. That's why they defeated the French using that voodoo. All right. And let's see here. Is there anything on that? So on that one, let's see, Salakia. Hopefully I didn't go past it. Yeah. Deuteronomy 33:7. Let me see here. Salakia, give me 1 second. Just fix this cord real quick. All right. Deuteronomy 33:7. And this is the blessing of Judah. And he said, hear Yahweh, the voice of Judah, and bring him unto his people. See, let his hands be sufficient for him, and be thou an help to him from his enemies. All right. And if you notice, no matter how many times we get our ass kicked in Babylon the Great, all right, being chased by the cops, being incarcerated, all right, things being pinned on us, losing jobs, just life defeating us every day, the Lord is still with Judah, man. All right. And you can always count on Judah to make a way for himself. Judah will be out there in the projects, man, making it happen. That's why it says, let his hands be sufficient for him. So whether he'll, do something illegal or, do something on an entrepreneurial, type of skill set or whatever, Judah always, he gonna find a way, man. Judah, he always gonna find a way, So that concludes part 2, all right, of this series, understanding the 12 tribes chart. And hopefully you brothers and sisters were edified. And in part 3, we're going to go through the rest of the tribes, all right, so that you can get more understanding on the breakdown of the 12 tribes. So with that, I want to say all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Once again, double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, better known as Great Millstone, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. I'm your brother Matazabath. Lord wills, this lesson was edifying. Until the next time, Shalom.